Welcome back to the Make of Madness YouTube channel. This is Jonathan here to break down the news as Ron Harper Jr. has decided to return to Rutgers for what will be his senior season. The son of the NBA great legend Ron Harper Sr. Has decided to return to Rutgers. Kind of up in the air decision. Could have easily gone pro, but ultimately he decided, let's give it one more run. And let's try to improve on consistency and work on some draft stock and make sure I am an NBA draft pick. That's probably what the NBA decision came down to for Ron Harper Jr. Early on this season, first month of the season, we were doing like an early season player of the year rankings we did on YouTube. Ron Harper Jr. was second in that. Only Luka Garza was ahead of him. He got out to a blistering start, was averaging over 20 points a game. He was just fantastic. And then he just kind of slowly struggled. He got injured in one game. Ultimately didn't miss much time. But I think he slowly just kind of stagnated out. Ultimately, ends up only averaging 14 points a game. Just kind of a letdown second half of the season. So for him, returning, he needs to work on consistency, obviously. Make sure, if you're going to average 20 a game, you need to do it over the course of a season, not just 20 a game and then drop off to 10 a game for the rest of the season. I think consistency is a key. He doesn't need to average 20 a game. But if you can say, okay, he's going to get you between 10 and 20 points a game and average 15 a game, that's what you want out of your player. You don't want someone who can score 30, can score 0, and you need consistency out of Ron Harper Jr. You need him to be the team leader because he is going to be the team leader. He's going to be the scoring leader. He has to be because there's just, he's the best player on the team. Geo Baker, we mentioned him earlier on the YouTube breakdown. He's the lead guard. He's kind of the second guy, but Ron Harper Jr. is the guy. And, last year they had, other players. They had Jacob Young. They had Montez Mathis. They had Miles Johnson who could kind of take the load. Now it has to be Ron Harper Jr., Geo Baker show. And they're the two kind of signature players of the program. But, again, they need to be consistently the signature players of the program. Elsewhere on the team, with Baker and Harper, they're probably going to play the 1 for Baker, and then Harper's going to play 2 through 4. They will just kind of switch that. They have Paul Mulcahy, who can knock down shots, create shots off the dribble. He's, I think, an underrated player. You can maybe have him run point for a couple possessions here. You can have Jalen Miller run point off the bench, but Baker will be the point. Paul Mulcahy, though, he can shoot it. He's a good shooter. Just a good overall player. So Paul Mulcahy being back, certainly big news for them. They've got Andre Hyatt, transfer from LSU. He's certainly a very good piece to this puzzle. He's going to come in, kind of play that, again, 2 through 4 role. He's going to, play tough defense. And then, of course, Caleb McConnell, who can create shots off the bounce, a solid dribbler, a good driver, not really great shooter, but, you have him playing the 4. He's a good piece to that. And then they have Clifford Mourier. Last year as a freshman, was up and down, was behind Miles Johnson. Now it's his team. He needs to be the go-to guy inside. No other way of saying it. He's the highest recruit of the century. He needs to play like the highest recruit of the century. Clifford Mourier has to have a big season. Dean Reber, Oscar Palmquist, Mawot Mag, they're going to come off the bench. Jalen Miller, 3-star recruit. I think, you can expect him to, kind of have somewhat of a limited availability. But, in terms of the starting 5, I think this is a team that, if you say they're going to the NCAA Tournament, I think they're right on the bubble. I wouldn't say they're in. I wouldn't say they're out. I'm doing a formal bracketology that will release Friday. We'll kind of wait and see what I ultimately have them seated. But, in terms of Rutgers, I think they're going to be pretty good. You've got You just look at this Big Ten. Obviously, I think Purdue and Michigan are the clear top 2 teams. I think Ohio State's still top 25 team. I think Maryland's, fallen off. They have Indiana, Michigan State. Like, Rutgers can be, if you told me Rutgers finished 4th in this league, I wouldn't be at all surprised. Just the Big Ten, I don't think is overly, as talented as it was last year. It's kind of going through a rebuild year, so there's certainly room for Rutgers to kind of emerge, and they will early on in the season be a great team for the Big Ten because they have experience. They're going to get wins early because they've played together. They're tough. They're physical. They're going to rout teams early on, and then can they sustain, a mediocre Big Ten season and sneak into the NCAA tournament? That will kind of be the questions. But Steve Pikiell has a team that is certainly capable of making the NCAA tournament. We'll wait and see on whether they do. But Rutgers hanging into this season, another year with high expectations. We'll see where that goes. But in terms of Ron Harper Jr., him returning, certainly big for Rutgers. Thanks again for tuning in to Make the Madness on YouTube. Stay tuned till next time. Thank you.